Hi guys, this is Ken's speech on behalf of the species, all species of the Empire Foundation Strike Back Teams and Leadership, Rockefeller Foundation, Carnegie Corporation, New York, Ford Foundations, and of course Bob Carucci, the Prime Minister of Empire Foundation's Tron Legacy Prize not to fail this fall 2011. On behalf of Apple iPad 2 and its new iOS 3 introduced on Wednesday, even Apple stores don't know, and its customers at Abe Lincoln Center here, and of course the fact of the matter 2 days earlier than March 11th of iPad 2. Remind Steve Jobs about all power, GPU, CPU processing issues and other requests for our iLabs devices in iOS 4.3 and future updates, auto installments. Now, on behalf of the King speeches here, let's take a look at some pictures. What is that? Global warming. What is that, devil? Global warming. Now let's take a look at some of the King's speeches versus the Science section, New York Times, Wednesday, March 9th, 2011. From January 13, 2011, on global warming. Now the fact of the matter, we are going to look at the Genius Bar here, or the Empire Foundation Strikes Back. And courtesy of the Federal Express whiteboards here, we're going to look at, in the King's speeches on behalf of 21st Century Empire Strikes Back Foundation teams and CWE funding not to fail, and Jeff Villaverde, whose ulterior motive is to evict me from the building and call the foundation emails, and Harvard MIT instead of yards away to the large dining area. That's why you should remind Jack Ron and waterboard them until he retires or the computer message disappears and staff members at the front counter managers don't listen to his computer message to deny me service for pay. Ulterior motive such as superintendents are very stupid, such as Mr. Bogda of Marston Realty. Now, humanity has done it to itself. We've seen how IBM Watson research has defeated humanities. Of course, humanity has forgotten how IBM Watson research is larger than a 3-pound brain. It shows you that humanity cannot see the good in itself and would rather have himself in a 7-box IBM metal case and refrigerator-sized brain. It shows you that humanity's dog-holding race is not of much value, even when it comes to look at its own best people who designed it to help us search trivial pursuit questions better. Now, the global warming speech is this. There's a feedback between, as you can see here in this little picture, there's a feedback between the cold air and the hot air in the equatorial belts around the Earth, plus or minus latitude, longitude, whatever it's called. One might ask, why is there global warming during the summer? Hotter air, as many Apple Store staff members at Abe Lincoln here says, remind Steve Jobs, and of course Jim Cook to put Maple math on App Store of Apple. Wolfram already has the Wolfram calculus, but not the Wolfram full version Mathematica at Apple App Stores. I finally be able to get the App Store to work on my iLabs devices, 2 of them, the iPhones and iPod Touch, latest generation 64 gigabytes. Tell Mr. Jobs thanks for solving it, unlike iTunes customer rep outsourcing Indian woman. Now, one might also ask, as the Abe Lincoln staff members at Apple Store here asked, laughing, this male blue shirt guy, they won't let me plug into the USB, so I'm using up my battery here by security guards to remind them. Another nasty way, global warming agent. How could it be global warming? It's much colder in the winter. And that's a very good question in a way. And I thought about it. And the answer is this. Humanity has screwed it up. This carbon dioxide gases have been trapped by the cold air flow from the North Pole and from the South Pole. It traps and pushes and sandwiches the global warming gases, including CO2, into the equatorial regions around Earth, plus or minus, latitude or longitude, whatever it's called. And because that the global warming gases are accumulating, the cold air is also becoming stronger from the North and South Pole. As you know, to try to offset and balance, as nature often does in physics, to balance the equation, or the global warming gases trapped in the air in the equatorial belts. And that's why we get a lot of cold winters, because the extra cold winter is actually not only forcing the global warming gases not to be able to escape into the North Pole to warm up the winters over there much more, even though there's been some melting in the ice caps there, the warming in the equatorial regions is much larger than it is in the North and South Poles. So the sandwiching of trapping the global warming gases to a large extent by this cold air flow is also why we get colder winters, because larger cold air flow from the two poles of the Earth are necessary to not only try to balance it, but also cause of feedback or even greater global warming during the summer and the next summer and the summers afterwards, generations to come, because they cannot flow as easily to the north and south poles of the equator, from the equator region. And therefore this feedback between cold air flow that causes the winters to be colder in New York City or Boston or the equatorial regions. One might ask, why else would it be that there is not warmer winters in New York and many other places around the equator, but actually even colder? And of course the fact of the matter is that there's a lot of snowfall because there's a lot of trapped energy and turbulence that creates snow, rain, and wind is trapped energy as well. So when one sees winter after winter with more wind during the winter, that is global warming effect, because the wind is trapped energy. And one might ask, if not for this particular line of reasoning by the IBM Watson Research supercomputers, human representative here versus the Shaw's Anton mathematical supercomputer, the fact of the matter is that did the Earth orbit really change that much, or the sun's orbit and its distance from the Earth, that the sun's orbital tilt changed that much to cause the winters to be so much colder, and at the same time colder to increase energy? Usually when you freeze, energy decreases in physics and you wouldn't get increased wind, which is stored up, caused by global warming. During the winter, that is, increased wind and energy. If the sun's orbit had tilted to make it colder and farther away from the Earth, and New York City, or Boston, and Cambridge, and Harvard, and MIT, then of course it would not be more trapped energy. Because cold is not energy, heat is energy. So these are the things that lead to this. Is the best line of reasoning found by IBM's Watson supercomputer, Intel Denol and Kronstadt, and of course IBM CEO and future search engines. It reminds Steve Jobs for our iOS 4.3 feature updates and our requests. So humanity is starting to get, not only has lost to the computer version, it's lost to the human representative for the IBM supercomputer Watson, the Watson Labs, the King Speeches under those species, Empire Strikes Back foundations. Now the four foundations must start in cleaning out the home tyranny of explorers and YMCA West, Martin Rudy, Superintendent Mr. Bakta, and Superintendent Mr. Jack Verde of West YMCA. You pay and you get services. That's what capitalism is about. And the fact of the matter is that here's the rest of the whiteboards for King Speeches. The fact of the matter is, of course, let's take a look at some better pictures again. Icon D shows qualitative strategy division by the King Speeches under the Speeches of Empire Strikes Back Foundation to use IBM Watson supercomputers. To do what? To do its qualitative search engine process versus quantitative. And that's what these shows should be reminded with the